Thanks for stopping by, joining me for class. This is a class devoted to the hamstrings. Super important muscle area of the body. If you're an athlete, runner in particular, walker, hiker, biker, etc., the hamstrings are one of the largest muscles in the body. And they are typically, for most of us, quite stiff, especially if you run a lot or hike a lot. Then you really have to find that counterbalance between stretching and exercising, because the more you run, the more you walk, the more you use the leg muscles, and the tighter, generally speaking, that muscle becomes. So taking time, making time, incorporating some of the work we're going to do in this class into your daily, weekly fitness routine can be really helpful. Again, you want to kind of find that counterbalance there so the hamstrings don't get super tight. Um, Hamstring is not an easy muscle to open up, to make more flexible. It takes time. You have to be really patient. You can't push it too hard because it is also very easy to injure, to pull a muscle, to do some other kind of unfortunate damage to. So you have to kind of coax that area open. It does respond fairly well, but it will take a little time. All right, you're not going to notice a big improvement over, 3 weeks, maybe 3 months, maybe a little shorter, depending on how often you do some of these stretches. But it is possible, but you do need to be patient and you do need to be consistent. All right, so one prop that will be very helpful in this class today is a yoga strap, cloth yoga strap. This is not something most folks commonly have laying around unless you do a lot of yoga, not like the blocks, which are, a little more prevalent, a little more common to have. So if you don't have a strap, a couple good substitutes would be a cloth belt. If you have a pair of slacks or a dress or a skirt that has a cloth belt, then know the belt might be a little bit short, a little bit too short, but it'll still be helpful. What works really well is the belt from a bathrobe, like a terry cloth or fleecy bathrobe. Those tend to be a little bit longer. They're nice and soft, but firm enough that you could use that instead. And if you decide after doing this class, seeing these stretches, these exercises, you want to invest in getting a strap. They're not very expensive. You get one, Amazon or a sporting goods store. Good thing to have if you have tight hamstrings. And again, you want to commit to incorporating these stretches we're going to do into your fitness routine. All right, so without more talking here, more overview, let's move to our mat. And keep the strap within reach or belt or whatever you're going to use as a substitute. And you can, by the way, one last thing though, you can absolutely do all of these poses without any kind of strap or belt. It's just going to help you carefully deepen the stretch and take a little strain off the joints if you have one, but you'll be able to do it without. But keep it nearby if you're choosing to use one, and we'll use it second pose, not the first one. We're going to start laying on the back. Just come lay softly on the ground. Keep both knees bent to start this. And let's take the right knee into the chest. Just give it a little hug. All right, now you're going to flex that right foot, lift it up so that the sole of the foot's parallel to the ceiling. You're going to sweep the right arm inside the right knee and see if you can take hold of the outer edge of the right foot. If you can't find the foot, if you're straining, then you kind of hold on to the ankle or even the lower shin. And this is half happy baby pose. So it is a hip opener, but we're going to get into the hamstrings a little bit too and the quads. So take a moment here, back flat, gently easing the right knee down towards the right shoulder. Now here's where the hamstrings start to come into play on the left side. You're going to slide the left leg just straight, flex the foot, and you're going to lift that foot up and down a couple times. So you can let the heel tap as you lower, or you can let it hover. You don't lift it too high. So flexing the foot is going to also engage the quad and the knee, but also get into that hamstring. Right now, keep the leg lifted just a little bit, and then lift the head and shoulders and gaze in the direction of your left big toe. One more breath. All right, let everything reset. Rebend both knees, bring both feet back down to the ground. Take it to the left side, hug the left knee in. Flex the foot, begin to kind of bring that knee up almost to a tabletop position. Sweep the left arm inside the left knee to take hold of the outer edge of the foot or a different part of the foot. Flex the foot, ease the knee down towards the shoulder for half happy baby. And now you kind of wiggle, slide the right leg to straight, flex the foot, and then you're just going to lift that leg up and down gently, not too high. And again, you could choose, you could tap the heel to the mat as you lower, or just keep it hovering above the mat a couple inches. Flex the foot more to engage, wake up the leg muscles a little more, and then keep the leg lifted a bit, lift the head and shoulders for a breath, look towards the right big toe now. All right, lower head and shoulders down. Keep the left side in happy baby and then bring the right side to join it. So now we find full happy baby pose. So you can rock a little side to side here. One more breath. All right, now let go of the feet, bring the feet back to the mat. Here's where you would use a strap or belt if you are choosing to use one. Unroll it. And we're going to start to open up the hamstrings right away here, but we're going to do it very easy. And we'll repeat this same stretch towards the end of class and give you a chance to observe after working on the hamstrings for a better part of an hour. If the stretch feels a little easier, maybe a slight bit deeper, though that's not necessarily the goal to go that deep, but just to observe and see the effects of it. All right, so pull the right knee back in, and if you're using the strap, loop it around the ball of the foot. And then you're slowly holding on to one end of the strap in each hand, begin to straighten the leg. All right, if you're not using the strap, then you just simply hold on, interlace the hands behind the thigh, or walk them up a little higher, maybe half or even the ankle. So you can stay using the strap if you're using it, or belt. It's a little helpful here. All right, because you can get a little more rocking, you can get a little more motion in. You could maybe get a slightly deeper stretch, but you want to go into this really slow and mindfully. All right, so you don't want to, like, if you're using the strap, say, this feels really good, this makes it easier. You don't want to then start pulling it in too far, because I'm doing that, I can really feel that hamstring stretch, and it doesn't feel that good. All right, it doesn't feel that nice. One more. All right, now slide the left leg just straight. If you're using the strap, bring both ends, both sides of the strap into the left hand, and the right arm could just be by the side. If you're not using the strap, then you would bring the left hand and hold on to the outer right ankle or side of the foot. We're going to start to cross that leg over towards the left. Do it slow. You can stop anywhere along the way, or you could keep going all the way over and maybe that right mound of the right big toe reaches the mat. And then try to turn the chest. It's hard to ground the shoulder blade here. Mine's hiking up, so it's a little too much to do. You don't have to try to do that. One more breath. Slowly bring the leg back up to the sky. Now scoot away. Make sure you're not too close to the wall here. Now, if you're using the strap, both ends are going to go into the right hand. Grip both ends in the right hand. Otherwise, right hand, hold on to the inner ankle or inner shin or maybe the inner edge of the foot with the right hand. And you're going to start to open that right leg off to the side. Keep the foot flexed. And here, don't take it into a twist. So you don't want to let that left hip hike up and start to roll over to the right. Ideally, you want to keep the shoulder blades grounded, chest pointing up towards the sky. You could take the left hand and press it into that left thigh to kind of ground it a little more, press it into the mat. So this is stretching the whole right leg, getting into the hip a little more, and definitely into the inner thigh a little more, but still giving the whole leg, including the hamstring, a good stretch. One more breath. All right, slowly bring the leg back up to the sky. Now, kind of curl in a little closer, lift the head and shoulders, either gently pulling the strap towards you or holding on behind the leg, and really gently, really small increment, pull the leg towards you. All right, release the head and shoulders down, take the strap away if you were using it. Let's come back, both knees bent to start this. And then you're going to take the left leg up, again, strap. If you're using it, loop it around the ball of the foot. Otherwise, you hold on behind the left thigh and take your time to straighten the leg. So one thing I didn't mention on side one, if your hamstrings are really tight, then you're not going to be expected to get that leg super straight. Okay, you're going to be bending it a little or a lot and work into it. So this pose, just this really easy stretch. It's a good way to gauge your progress, to see how the flexibility develops over time. The other thing to caution, if you have really flexible hamstrings, if it's really easy for you to straighten the leg, then you have to be mindful not to overstretch it and not to lock out and hyperextend the knee, because that's going to damage your knee. Take one more breath here, just kind of get rocking it side to side. And then slide the right leg to straight, strap both ends, go in the right hand, otherwise right hand holds on outer edge of left leg, and then begin to cross that leg over to the right side. Only going, it might be good to just pause halfway. Maybe you can go a little lower, lower the foot down all the way. You could also have a block, a yoga block waiting there on the side to rest your foot on if you can't bring it all the way down. And don't make that a goal. One more breath. All right, come back up. Now hold both ends in the left hand, or hold on to, say, the inner edge, inner ankle, the left leg with the left hand, and then start to open the leg off to the left. As we keep the shoulder blades grounded, the chest, belly pointing up, the hip points pointing up. Maybe again, if it's helpful, take the right palm, press it into the right thigh to ground it, and don't turn this into a twist. Don't let the right hip start to hike up. One more breath. All right, last part of this for now. Bring that left leg back up, and now you lift the head and shoulder. Maybe use the strap to just small, pull in a little closer, or use the hands behind the leg to accomplish the same goal. One more breath. All right, release. Remove the strap belt. If you're using it, put it to the side. Don't keep it handy because we will use it next. Just for a breath, hug both knees in. Rock a little right and rock a little left with that opening hamstring stretch. All right, from here, you're going to bring yourself all the way up to a seat. So we're going to come right away into a seated forward fold. And it's a little early, but we did do that nice hamstring stretch. So hopefully the hamstrings are warm enough. So you could sit on a blanket here, though we're not going to hold this for very long. The strap comes in really handy here to help you hold this pose longer, maybe get a bit deeper. You can bend the knees as you loop the strap around the balls of the feet if you're using that, and then maybe start to straighten the legs. You can hold on to one end in each hand like the reins of a horse, or you can just kind of hold in both ends in both hands, kind of sit up tall, flex the feet, and then from here, you start to come into a forward fold with a flat back. If you're using the strap, then you start to walk the hands up closer towards the feet and kind of use that to help you get a little deeper in. Otherwise, you could just have the hands on the mat. And if this is super tight in your hamstrings and low back, which we haven't really warmed up just yet, then it would be good to bend the knees and maybe float the backs of the knees up off the mat a bit. As you start to ease the chest forward, gazing towards the feet. Just about 3 more breaths here. So this is another nice stretch for the hamstrings, easy. And again, it's a good one to measure your progress in it, to see if you can get a little deeper in each time, maybe just, tiny, tiny bit, half an inch or less. One more breath. All right, slowly lift the chest. Take your strap away for now. You may have use for it later, but we're done with it for the moment. And now let's come on to all fours, hands and knees. And now let's warm up that back, that spine with some cat-cows. Take the hand shoulder distance and then start to round, tuck in, and then exhale, open up. So warming up the back. So oftentimes when the hamstrings are tight in those forward folds, seated forward folds, standing forward folds, the low back is also tight. So we want to take a few breaths here, a few more rounds of cat-cow. to warm up the back, especially the low back. 2 more times round and open. And then take it 1 more time to cat and 1 more to cow. Now from here, take the right leg long back of the mat, tuck the toes, and we're just going to start lifting that leg up and down, but keep it hovering as you bring it down. So keep the toes flexed, toes point down. Observe that kind of internal rotation of the right inner thigh. So this is stretching the hamstring and the glute, getting a little into the low back. So make sure you keep the spine neutral here, looking down between the hams. Just a couple more up and down. You can tap the toe here down, or you can just keep it hovering. 1 more breath. All right, bring the right knee back down. Take the left leg long, tuck the toe, and then again, start with those lifts up and down. So you choose. You can either tap the toe to the mat as you lower, or I find it a little more work, a little more challenging to keep the foot hovering. So it's not really a pulse because you're lifting the leg a little higher. It's a little more work for the legs to not tap the toe, but you choose. 1 more. All right, come back onto all fours. From here, you're going to step back to high plank and then lift the hips up and find downward facing dog. So downward facing dog, big pose, big whole body pose. And this is one where you can really see sometimes how tight the hamstrings are. All right, if you want to try to stretch the heels down towards the ground, but if you have super tight hamstrings, your body's not going to allow you to do that. So there's where you would bend the knees a little or a lot. You could try taking the feet a little wider than hips distance, which is the traditional alignment, and you could step them in a little closer towards the hands to take a shorter downward dog. Those are all good options, good modifications, as we say. So drop the chest down, lift the hips up, and take another breath here. All right, from here, let's take the right leg to the sky to 3-leg dog. Bend the knee, open the hip, flex the foot, turn slightly and look under the right arm. And now from here, begin to straighten that right leg slowly and point the toe. So we get this nice long diagonal line stretch on the right side, stretching out through the shoulder and the hip and the whole leg, the quad and the hamstring together. 1 more breath, turn all the way back to 3-leg dog, and then take the right foot down to the ground. Let's take the left leg up to the sky. Put a bend in that knee, open the hip, flex the foot to start. Begin to turn slightly and gaze under the left arm. And then take your time, begin to straighten the leg and now point the toe. Pointing the toe can help you feel that stretch a little more. 1 more breath, turn back forward, and then let's lower the left leg back down to the ground to downward dog. All right, we're going to take the right leg back up to the sky to 3-leg dog. We're going to step it forward this time. Drop into the left knee, walk the hands in, and lift the spine and find a nice low lunge position. So start by lifting the arms to the sky. We're going to get a little deeper into the hamstrings coming up next pose, but take a moment here, lengthening up through the sides of the waist to the ribs. And then you're going to lean forward, bring the hands to the mat. Blocks are good here if you can't reach the ground easily. You're going to start to straighten the right leg, pull the hips back, and come onto the right heel or half splits, which is a big hamstring stretch. All right, they're a little warmer, so maybe you can straighten the leg more, but if not, feel free to bend the knee as much as you need. Either keep the chest open here, gaze forward, or a little deeper stretch, begin to fold over the leg. All right, one other thing to watch here, besides not locking the knee out, is you want to flex the toes back towards the face. That helps protect the knee. And you also want to keep the points, the hip points, hip flexors, facing forward, not letting the hips sway to one side or the other, squaring off the hips, as we say. 1 more breath. All right, lift the chest, shift forward, lower the right foot down, hands down as you step to plank, lift the hips up to downward facing dog. Take the left leg to the sky to three-leg dog. Exhale, step it through. Drop onto the right knee. Walk the hands in. Lift the spine. Stretch the arms long by the ears. Gaze out in front of you. Ground a little more through the left foot and lengthen up a little more into this low lunge position. For one more breath. And then again, release the hands down to the mat or blocks. Start to straighten the left leg as you pull the hips back. Sink the hips back towards the back heel. Come onto the left heel. Curl the toes back, flex the foot. Don't lock out that knee. Once again, you choose either keep the chest open or you can start to fold over that left leg. Being mindful not to, again, hyperextend the knee. It's easy to do. This is another big hamstring stretch here, half splits pose. One more breath. All right, again, shift forward. This time, step the left knee back to tabletop. Walk the hands in until you're standing on the shins, and then turn on your shins and be in the center of your mat. Face the center of your mat. We're going to step the left foot out to the side. You're going to ground that foot, in particular through the outer edge. That's going to kind of wake up and engage that whole left leg. Take the arms out long from the shoulders, and then we're going to bend over to our left side into gate pose. That's a nice side body stretch. But if you're really engaging, pressing down firmly through that left foot, you should feel that engage not just the quad, but the hamstring as well, kind of a strengthening pose. So a lot of stretching for the hamstrings, but also some strengthening going on too. One more breath here. All right, rise up tall. Now we're going to go the other way. Reach out through the right arm. Drop the right hand to the mat. You can be on the fingertips, use a block, and then sweep the left arm over the ear at a diagonal. And now we're in modified side plank position, which is just this big whole side body opening on the left side, opening up, creating space, lower and upper body. One more breath. All right, inhale, rise all the way back up onto the shins. Take side two, step the right foot to the side. So get a good grounding, a good press down through that foot first so you feel real stable and secure and engaged here. And then lift the spine. Arms to a T. Start disengage, bending to your right. You can either keep the right hand at the hip, or ideally you slide the palm down the outer leg, maybe crawling the fingers down closer to the ankle. One more breath. All right, rise up again. Reach out long to the left and drop onto the left hand or block. Right arm sweeps up to the sky over the ear at a diagonal and modified side plank. We have two more breaths here. Opening up, expanding, lengthening, breathing here. And then inhale, come all the way back up onto the shins. Turn on the shins to face forward. Drop the hands to the mat. Step the feet back to high plank. And then take the hips up to downward facing dog. Take just another breath here. And again, if the hamstrings are tight, bend the knees more. You can bend one at a time like you're pedaling a bike, or have a soft or big bend in both knees. Do drop the chest down towards the ground and lift the hips up towards the sky, even if the knees are deeply bent. On your next inhale, lift the chest and look forward. Put a deep bend in both knees, and then walk all the way to the top of the mat. All right, here's where the block can come in very helpful. Again, if those hamstrings are really tight, low back is tight, prop the hands under the block, one or two blocks. You can go any height with the block. First, we're going to open the chest forward, flatten the spine, and then we're going to drape down and come into that deep standing forward fold. So this is just like we did in our seat just a bit ago, but on the feet. And here we can really let the spine hang down. You can bend the knees as much as you need. It might feel nice to kind of gently, a little bit at a time, sway the hips side to side. So this standing forward fold position, real simple. You know, we're really not moving. We're not doing a whole lot. But this, for a lot of students, can be one of the most challenging poses you do in a yoga class or a stretch class, because those hamstrings are so tight and the low back is so tight. So use the blocks under your hands. One more breath. All right, now bring the hands to the hips and slowly Bring yourself all the way up to stand. Take your time, standing up tall, gazing forward, release the arms by the sides. Feet can be about hips distance, or you can step them in closer. Before we go further, a couple of half sun salutations and a couple of full sun salutation A's. Just feel pressing down through the whole foot, inner and outer edge, big toe mound, little toe mound. Just kind of begins to let the energy travel up the fronts of the legs, the fronts of the shins and the backs of the calves, the front and backs of the knees, the quads, and those hamstrings. So grounding through the feet, using the feet for support, can help take a little pressure off the joints here. All right, on your next inhale, sweep the arms overhead and join the palms. And then exhale, slowly fold back down. Know when you come into those forward folds, the knees can be bent. Palms pressed to shins, gaze forward, once again, flat back. And then as you exhale, come back to that standing forward fold. Rise tall, inhale, arms circle up, palms meet. And then with your exhale, release the arms by the sides, roll the shoulders back, gaze forward. Mountain pose, standing up tall, grounding through the feet, engaging the legs, engaging the core as well. Inhale, arms circle overhead. Exhale, dive back down to the ground. Take that half lift, palms to shins, flatten the back. Exhale, fold deeply. Rising tall, inhale, circle up, palms connect. Exhale, release the arms by the sides, mountain pose. So we'll add on a bit to that now. Inhale, we reach tall, lengthen up. Exhale, slowly hinge forward at the hips as you dive back down. Take that half lift once again. This time, hands down, step to plank, drop down onto all fours. Take a round of cat and cow, and then tuck the toes, let the hips lift again to downward facing dog. So as we move through these downward dogs, just see each time if the hamstrings begin to loosen up a little bit. Maybe you can straighten the knees just a fraction more, but if not, don't push yourself. Again, opening up the hamstrings takes time. You need to be patient. Let it evolve. As it's ready, don't strain. One more breath. All right, bend the knees, look forward, and then step walk to the top. Press the palms to the shins as you gaze forward, and then exhale, fold deeply over the legs. Maybe keep those blocks near the top of the mat for your hands. Inhale, rise tall. Arms sweep up, palms tap. Exhale, release the arms back by the sides, roll the shoulders back again, grounding through the feet, feeling the legs energize, the legs all working together as a unit here. Let's take another sun salutation. Inhale, reach tall. Exhale, folding low. Keep the knees bent as you fold if you need. Palms to shins, inhale. Hands down, step to plank. This time you're going to lower all the way down to the mat. You can drop onto the knees or come down through top of a push-up. Forehead rests on the mat. Step the hands in by the outer ribs. You're going to bend the elbows. Give those outer ribs a little hug. And then lift the head and shoulders. And find cobra pose, a little gentle back bend. Let's give the glutes a little squeeze. See if you can lift up a little bit higher. And then drop the forehead down. Tuck the toes. Lift a plank, take the hips back up, step the feet in a bit if you need to downward dog. Let's take 2 breaths here. Deep breath in through the nose. Full breath out. Breathing one more time like that, maybe breathing into those hamstrings. Exhale fully. From here, you're going to roll to plank pose. And we're just going to hold this plank for a few seconds. So here, press a little more into the balls of the feet. Stretch the heels back and observe how just that little small motion, just the pressing back of the heels, begins to engage the hamstrings. Be aware of the core here, the deep core. You're going to pull the navel back up a little more towards the spine to fully engage. Get that core here to support us. One more breath. All right, from here, drop onto the knees and come lay on your back. Lay on your back. Picking up the core, a little bit of core work in this practice to also get the legs working a little bit here as well. First, you're going to bring the legs up to tabletop position, bend the knees, bring the hands behind the head, elbows wide. You're going to lift the head and shoulders. Let's twist to the left to start, but we're going to hold here. Straighten the right leg, point the toes. See if you can lift that left shoulder blade up and see if you can tap right elbow to left knee or thigh. And then slowly switch to the other side. Twist to the right, lift the right shoulder blade up, come back to center, and then switch. So we're doing these slow. We're holding each side 2 breaths. These bicycles. Come to center, back over to the right, holding. Come back, we'll do a couple more each side. Twist, see if you can really point the toes of that right leg, straighten the leg a little more, and see what that does for that quad and that hamstring. Come to center, twist again to your right. Maybe see again, you can lift that right shoulder up, 1/2 inch. One more to each side, these slow bicycles, holding, held bicycles. Come back to center, last part of this, to the right, last 2 breaths, and then lower all the way down. And now from here, you're going to slide both legs to straight. Before we come up, so what we're going to do here are straight leg crunches, straight leg sit-ups. Normally with sit-ups, the knees are bent, either feet on the mat or legs up in midair. But for this, we're going to have the legs straight. Before we start lifting, I want you to really flex the feet, and I want you to really be aware of the whole back of the leg pressing into the mat. The heel, the calves, the backs of the knees, and the hamstrings. They're all going to stay really grounded and really engaged this whole time. Bring the hands back behind the head, elbows wide, and you're going to lift the head up and look at your toes. You can maybe wiggle your toes there, below toes, and then lower down. And you're going to keep going here, up and down. All right, the other thing you want to press into the mat besides the backs of the legs is that low back. All right, so you don't want to let the low back arch up. You just want to try to lift the chest a little higher. All right, now as we continue here, just a few more rounds, and you probably feel these straight leg crunches in a slightly different part of the abdominals than you would if the knees were bent. Maybe a little lower down in the abs, which is good. If you don't need the hands behind the head for the last few rounds, you can start to stretch the fingers towards the toes. Maybe that helps you lift up a little higher. Keep pressing the backs of the legs, low back, into the mat. We have just 2 more and 1 more. All right, lower down. Hug the knees into the chest. You're going to rock a little right, rock a little left, side to side to kind of recover, give the body a little recovery from all that core work. And then from here, roll yourself up. Sweep the hips, the feet to one side of the hips. Come back to tabletop. Roll in again for cat. Open up for cow. Tuck the toes. Lift the hips back up to downward facing dog and take a couple breaths there. And again, maybe just checking in, paying attention, seeing if the hamstrings are starting to ease open just a little bit. Let's take the right leg to 3-leg dog. And then exhale, step it through, ground the left foot as well. And we're going to rise up into warrior 2 pose. So take a couple breaths to arrive here, set this up. Maybe wiggle the left foot back a little, or you step it in a little. Depends on the length of your legs, your range of motion. Tall spine, arms out to a T. Ground more through that left foot. Again, to activate that whole left leg. Take the right palm to the sky, sweep it up and over the ear, and find reverse warrior pose. Another side bend. Maybe bend a little deeper into the right knee. And then stay in the side bend, but just begin to straighten the right knee and arrive in reverse triangle pose. Both legs straight, still in the side bend, but keeping that little soft bend in the right knee. All right, we're going to rise up on straight legs. Maybe again, step that back foot in a bit, wiggle it in a bit. Shorten the stance if you need. Reach out long through the right arm. Maybe have your block within reach. You're going to keep reaching through that right arm, creating length and space on that right side. And then when you're ready, drop the right hand down. Foot, ankle, shin, use the yoga block. Take the left arm to the sky, tuck the left sit bone under, and begin to turn right side of the chest up towards the sky a little more. You want the shoulders stacked over each other, but at the same time, you want to keep those shoulders away from the ears. This is triangle pose. Working both legs here. Both legs are fully supporting you here. One more breath. Rebend that right knee. Bring yourself back up to warrior two. And then from here, circle the hands to the mat. Step to plank pose. Take the hips directly up to downward facing dog. Let's take a breath there. Big breath in. Nice deep breath out. And then take the left leg to three-leg dog. As you exhale, we're going to take a big step forward. We're going to ground through that right foot as well and rise up tall spine and find warrior two pose. Left knee bent right over the ankle. That right leg again, working just as hard as the left. Take a narrower, shorter, or longer stance as you need to accommodate your body, your muscular system, the length of your legs. Take the left palm to the sky, and you're going to sweep that arm up and over the ear and arrive in that side bend that we call reverse warrior. Now just begin to straighten the left knee. But again, not locking it out. Legs are straight, but still a little soft into reverse triangle position. Come up on straight legs, arms to a T. Now, again, kind of watch the left hand. Kind of keep reaching, like you're trying to grab something you can't quite reach. Get length, 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 and then drop down, spin open. Turn the head if you can, look up at the right hand. 2 more breaths here in triangle. Legs are working really hard to ground evenly through both feet. 1 more breath. All right, we're going to rebend that left knee as we lift the spine back up to warrior two. And then circle the hands down to your mat. Step back to plank. Once again, hips rise to downward facing dog. Take a breath or two here. Again, every time we're here, we don't have too many more downward dogs, but the next few times we do that, just kind of pay attention each time you're in this pose. Hamstrings maybe feel a little looser, just a little. Maybe you don't even notice it, but it's happening. Let's take the right leg to three-leg dog. And then exhale, you're going to step it into a runner's lunge pose. Blocks are good under the hands. Again, if it's difficult for you to reach the mat, you're straining there. Use a block under each hand, any height. Pause here, another breath. Pushing back again through that left heel, which is going to wake up and engage that whole left leg. Now, step the back foot in 1 or 2 steps, but you're going to keep the heel lifted. You're going to start to straighten the right leg, and then you're going to fold over that right leg into pyramid pose. So typically in pyramid, the back heel is grounded as well as the front, but we're choosing to leave that back heel lifted for this time just to create a little more space in the legs so we can get a slightly deeper stretch and length. This again is another really big hamstring stretch. So bend that right knee more. Last thing you want to do here to square off the hips, you want to subtly draw the right hip back and at the same time draw the left side of the pelvis forward. All right, now you're going to look forward. You're going to bend that right knee slightly. Walk the hands out in front of you. You could use blocks. Shift the weight to the right leg, and you're going to lift the left leg up into warrior three. Supported warrior three. Keep the left toes pointing down. Again, that slight internal rotation of that left inner thigh and gaze forward. So normally, typically in warrior three, the full pose in warrior three is a balancing pose. So the hands are not on the mat or blocks. The hands are like by the heart or out in front of you, and you're up a little higher. But for today, we just want to work on getting that extension, that stretch, and not worry about the balance. 1 more breath. Let's rebend the right knee. Stretch the left leg long until you land back on the ball of the foot to runner's lunge. Keep the left hand down and just briefly take a twist right arm to the sky. Just for a breath, just to finish this off. And then unwind, hands down, step to plank. Take the hips back up again to downward facing dog. Take the left leg up, three-leg dog. Exhale, step it through to runner's lunge. Again, use your blocks, any height. Pause here a couple breaths before we go further to really get some nice stretch and engagement in that right leg. Push the heel back a little more. One more breath. All right, now start with the back leg, the right leg. Step it in one, maybe two bumps. Keep the back heel lifted up, but you're going to start to pull the hips back and straighten the left leg, but again, be mindful not to lock out that knee. Hands on blocks, super good idea here if the mat's a little far. And then we're going to fold over that left leg in this variation of pyramid. You could try rounding the right heel. You could try. It's not that difficult, but if your hamstrings are really tight, it's going to feel a lot better. It's going to let you get a better stretch if you just keep that heel lifted a little or a lot. All right, now look forward. Slight bend in that left knee. Walk the hands out a little. You could use blocks too. And then you're going to take the right leg up to warrior three. So again, the toes point down, toes are flexed. Torso is largely parallel to the ground, though you could lift the chest and look forward. So again, we're not worrying so much about balancing here, which is why the hands are on the mat or blocks. But if you wanted to work on balance, you could take this warrior three pose. Usually you come in from a high lunge position and make it more of a balancing pose. One more breath, rebend the left knee, stretch the right leg back to runner's lunge, and then left foot steps to plank. And once again, the hips come up to downward facing dog. Let's take a couple breaths here. Again, still feel free to bend the knees a little or a lot here. Hopefully things are starting a little at a time to loosen up, stretch out, expand. From here, take the right leg back to the three-leg dog. Exhale, step it through once again to warrior two. Come on up. Arms to a T. Again, watch the position of the legs. You need to widen the stance or narrow it. You make that decision. From here, we're going to reach out with the right arm again. But this time, we're going to drop the right forearm onto the right thigh. And we're going to sweep the left arm over the ear. And then we're going to turn right side of the chest a little to the left. And again, kind of watch that left hip kind of roll it under a little, tuck it under. This is extended side ankle pose. So really, again, working both legs here, especially the front knee, that bent leg, but the back leg too. Again, ground through the foot more. Feel how that wakes up, activates the leg. Just one more breath and then come back up in warrior two. Circle the hands to the ground. Step to plank pose. Take the hips up to the sky. Once again, downward dog. Into the left side now. Take the left leg to the sky. As you exhale, step it through. Round both feet. Rise up. Tall spine. Warrior two position once again. Hold here one more breath. And then lean forward just a little. Just enough you can prop that left forearm on the left thigh. And then take the right arm over the ear. Turn left side of the chest to the right. And arrive in this extended side angle position. Couple more breaths. One more. All right, come back up to warrior two. And again, circle the hands to the ground. Step to plank. Take the hips up to downward facing dog. Couple breaths here. And then you kind of push the thighs back a little. See what that does, maybe to the hamstrings. One more breath. All right, let's bend the knees. Look forward and then walk to the top of the mat. Bring the hands to the hips and rise all the way up to stand. All right, take a big step out to face the side of the mat. You're going to walk the feet wide here. I'm going to turn the toes slightly inward. You're going to bend into the right knee. Keep the left leg long, left leg straight into a side lunge. So you can keep the hands at the hips, or you can drop the hands to the mat or a block here. All right, just kind of giving that left leg a nice stretch, hamstring, quad, knee, outer hip. One more breath. All right, come to center, straighten the legs briefly. and then take that side lunge, side stretch to the other side. Bend the left knee, straighten the right, keep grounding through that right foot, keep activating that right leg. One more breath. All right, straighten both legs, turn the toes a little more in. Maybe if you can, walk the feet a little bit wider, if it feels okay. If it's already feeling tight, walk the feet in closer. Have blocks nearby if you need, hands under the chest, gaze forward first, and then exhale. Let's come into this nice wide leg forward fold. Deep, deep stretch. Big stretch for both hamstrings, both outer hips, the low back. Allow the spine to dangle down, crown of the head reaches down towards the ground. Once again, if you're straining to reach the ground, you've blocked under the hands. If the hamstrings are super tight here, low back super tight, then you need to bend the knees more and you need to walk the feet in closer, taking narrower stance. One more breath. All right, slowly lift the chest and then begin to walk the feet in closer. You can go like 1 foot at a time or change, one left and right. Step them in close and then bring the hands back to the hips. Rise all the way back up to stand and then walk back, return to the top of your mat. With your inhale, let's reach the arms overhead again, clap the palms together. Exhale, fold back down to the ground. Step to plank. Lower all the way down to the mat. This time you're going to stack one hand on top of each other and you're going to bend the elbows out to the side. And then you're going to lower the forehead to rest on that hand stack. So from here on the belly, we're going to do a variation of hamstring curls. So we're doing these without any weights, but if you wanted to, if you were interested, and so this one's a good one to strengthen the hamstrings. We've been stretching them a lot. This one is intended to strengthen. And if that was something you're interested in, you could add a little more resistance with a little ankle weight, just like a 3-pound ankle weight, 2 or 3 pounds. I don't know what increments they all come in, but you could absolutely do that to add a little more resistance to it. All right, keep the chest flat, belly flat. Keep the left leg long, press the top of the left foot into the mat. You're going to bend the right knee, flex the foot, and start to gently ease the heel in towards the butt and feel the back of the knee as well engage here. And then slowly straighten the leg long. So you're going to keep going here on the same side. Let's stay on the right side, flex the foot, ease the heel in a little closer to the glute, and then just to slowly let it go. So you want to try, we keep going here, you want to try to keep the inner knees pressing against each other. Try not to have too much separation between the knees. Let's take just 2 more. Just 2 more, slow and controlled here. And then let's get 1 more. Bend. Ease the heel in, hold here, maybe just little pulses. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten the right leg long. Come right into the left side, bend the knee, flex the foot. Begin to gently guide the heel in towards the butt. And then just to slowly re-straighten that left leg. And keep going here. Keep them slow, controlled. And then let it go. We have a few more. These reclined hamstring curls to strengthen the hamstring. And the hamstrings are actually pretty easy to strengthen because it's a big, thick muscle like the quads. Flexibility, not as easy. Strength comes perhaps a little bit easier. Let's just do 1 more. Bend in, hold here, flex, just little tiny pulses. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, release the leg long. Lift the head up off the hands, step the hands in by the ribs. And from here, you're going to lift yourself up and come find a seat. So from here, strap would be helpful. You could sit on a blanket as well here. So this is going to be a little deeper hamstring stretch. So I want you to really go into this one very slowly, very slow and controlled and mindful. You're going to bend the right shin in first, like you're coming into a nice, easy cross-leg position. Have your strap. You don't need to use it, really don't need to use it for this, but it could be helpful to you. You're going to hug the left thigh into the chest. So flex the foot so the foot's kind of lifting up off the ground already, and don't lean back too far. So if you feel yourself leaning back, maybe get a folded blanket or cushion under you. And now, kind of like we did laying on the back, you're going to start to straighten that leg and go a little at a time. So it may be that if the hamstrings are really resistant to this, this is as far as you're going to go. But perhaps you could start to straighten the leg more. You could walk the hands up and hold on to the ankle, or you could cross the wrists and hold on to inner and outer edges of the foot. Gaze up towards the left big toe and open the chest. Whether the knee is deeply bent or mostly straight, still do that same action. Look up towards the toe, open the chest, don't round the spine. This is called heron pose, like those big majestic birds you see standing on one leg. One more breath. All right, slowly, carefully release that left leg down. So I didn't use the strap on that side. I will use it on this side just so you can see how that could help you. So again, you're going to bend that left shin in like a cross-leg position. Kind of bend the right knee and just kind of float the foot up to hover. So here, if you're using the strap, you would wrap again around the ball of the foot. You could hold one end in each hand or hold both ends in both hands, you choose. And then, see, you would use the strap here to slowly straighten the leg. And again, maybe it's a little easier, gives you something to hold on to, but you don't need to use it. And again, if you're using it, don't get too carried away here. Don't think, wow, this is doing all the work for me. It's not really, it's making it a little bit easier. But the temptation there then is to kind of start to really straighten the leg and pull it in a little too close. And the hamstring may not be so happy with that. One more breath. All right, release that leg down. Let's go back to a pose, another pose we did early in class, which is that seated forward fold. So here again, this time, if you took a blanket or cushion out, you could stay sitting on it. And once again, you could use the strap or belt or not. Just like we did earlier, loop the strap around the balls of both feet, either hold on one end in each hand, or you could just kind of hold both ends in both hands, sit up tall, lengthen, and then exhale, fold. So if you're using the strap, again, you can kind of use it, help you a little bit, but don't jerk on the strap. Never jerk. Just kind of use it as a little assistance. And again, you don't need to have a strap. The hands could just be on the mat as you lean forward. Again, be okay with bending the knees if you need to do that, if it's still feel tight. And again, it's not going to automatically, miraculously going to open up your hamstrings after one class or 10 classes. It takes time. Be patient. Be kind to those hamstrings. One more breath. All right, slowly lift the chest. The strap was being used. Place it to the side. And from here, let's just take a nice, easy seated twist. Step the left foot in, close to the groin. Keep the right leg straight. Wrap both arms around that left shin, and then turn to the left. Keep the right arm wrapped around the shin, but you drop the left fingers behind you. Just like 2 or 3 breaths. Keep the right foot flexed. Keep pushing out through the sole of the foot to keep that leg engaged as long as possible. One more moment here. And then slowly turn to face forward. Slide left leg to straight, bend the right knee, step the foot in close. First, before we twist, hug that side of the chest, and then turn to your right. Not too deep. All right, so we haven't done an enormous amount of spinal warm-up. So all the seated forward folds, standing forward folds, again, in addition to stretching out those hamstrings, it's also stretching out the low back. So maybe the low back does feel a little more mobile than it did before. One more breath. All right, turn forward, and from here, you're going to come lay all the way on your back. Oh, shouldn't, well, you could use the strap. You could have the strap nearby, belt nearby, but you have a block within reach if you want it for bridge pose. We'll just take a relatively short bridge pose. Here, a little back bend. Feet hips distance. Press into the feet, lift the hips. Get the block under you. lower medium height if you want to use it. Otherwise, just we're not going to be here too long. So a back bend for sure. And again, low back comes into play. Way, if you think about it, well, it isn't really attached to the hamstrings, but it just has that whole path it travels. So low back down through the glutes into the hamstrings. And really, if any of those areas are tight or sore or injured, then it's going to start impacting all the other spots on the way. Excuse me. Take just a couple more breaths here. So hamstrings do work in this bridge pose. You don't notice them as much. It's more outer hips, low back, quads. But the hamstrings are working here to help support you. And what you could do, one thing, just let's just do this one thing, just occurred to me. What you could do to get a little more into the hamstring. So come off the block if you're using the block, because you really can't feel it that much in the block. Keep the hips high. And then we'll just do this 1 or 2 times. You're going to walk the feet out, come on to the heels to keep the hips lifted and get the legs mostly straight. And then step the heels back in. Drop the feet down into bridge. And let's try that one more time. So first, lift onto the heels, float the toes up. And then these are called door stoppers. This little one. Walk the legs out till they're mostly straight. And that's going to take this bridge more into the hamstrings than the low back. And then step the feet back in. Drop the toes down, slowly lower the hips down. So that's one way in your bridge pose. You could get more hamstring engagement is to do those door stoppers. Walk the feet out. Come onto the heels until the legs are mostly straight. All right. We're going to go back to that hamstring stretch we did at the beginning of class. So just the one direction, just a straight hamstring stretch, not crossing right or left as we did at the beginning. So you can keep the left knee bent to start. You could use your strap or not. Hug the right knee in, and then again, like we did, begin to straighten the leg up. Use your strap around the ball of the foot, or if you don't want to bother at this point, you could just hold on behind the thigh or behind the calf or ankle. You could keep the left knee bent or straighten it. It's kind of passive here. So again, just kind of remembering back, if you can, how this felt the first time. This was really the second pose we did. We did the happy baby, the half happy baby. But one of the first things we did, and just think, maybe you can't remember, but maybe your body remembers, maybe the muscles remember. This feels easier. Hopefully, a little more space, a little more movement. One more breath, let go of that right foot, bring the foot to the mat. You can keep the knee bent or straight, doesn't really matter. Put the left knee in. And then once again, last time, begin to straighten the leg, returning to that easy hamstring stretch. Maybe it's a little easier, maybe not. Again, be patient. It takes time. Not going to happen that fast. Ease into these stretches always. One more breath. All right, from here, slide both legs to straight. You're going to hug just the right knee into the chest. Keep the left leg long. And let's finish this with a little recline twist. Roll over to your left. Press that shoulders into the mat and then begin to turn left side of the ribs to the right. Maybe look over the right shoulder or look up to the sky. Just 2 more breaths here. Just a little unwinding, a little cool down here. And then roll onto the back. Change sides, slide the right leg to straight. Get the left knee a hug in. Take a twist over to your right. Ground the shoulder blades, turn right side of the ribs to the left. 2 more easy breaths here. 1 more. All right, come on to the back. You can hug the knees in. You can take happy baby as we did earlier to start class with. You could take a full body stretch. You could just roll up to a seat. And that is our class on the hamstrings. So hopefully, again, some things you can take with you, maybe not do the whole class. Maybe 2 or 3 things: that reclined hamstring stretch, the seated forward fold, the standing forward fold, all of those things, the pyramid pose, pretty much everything we did in this class to both stretch and strengthen the hamstrings. They're both equally important. And again, if you're doing a lot of running, a lot of cardio, a lot of pounding on the legs, that tends to kind of tear down, break down the muscle fibers in the legs, very common occurrence. Then you really have to counterbalance that with the stretching. Otherwise, your hamstrings are just going to be this big tight knot, and that's not going to be helpful to you for any reason at all. So the stretching, you have to have a little bit of give and take, a little counterbalance. So hopefully enjoyed, hopefully helpful to you. Hamstrings, again, most athletes notoriously tight. You are not alone. It is a very common part of the body to have tightness in, which is again why we have to work a little harder sometimes to loosen it up, stretch it out. Thanks for joining me in this class, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.